everybody, what's up? It's Tipping the Scales. I'm your girl, Shay Dawson.
I'm Tania Rivers. What's up, tippers?
What's up? I see you representing your son today, Tania.
I know, I gotta show the tippers. You guys see?
Hey.
See Mikal over here?
Mikal Bridges, baby.
I'm
balling
so
right now.
excited about the playoffs. You have no idea.
Let's talk about it, though.
Yes, like this is the stuff that excites me. I got a lot going on, right? Like a lot. Got a new gig coming up, so that's super exciting about that.
Everybody give her a hand. Round of applause.
Go.
All tippers, we're excited for you.
So exciting.
Go.
Like it's an amazing opportunity, great company, excited to be an excellent and strategic partner to my new CEO, which we'll talk about later. We'll save the big deal on that. But it's super exciting and really, you know how passionate I am about creating amazing cultures where employees are engaged and can be their most authentic selves. So that's going to give me the opportunity to do that at a really big scale for a big public company. So very excited.
Oh my God. Super excited for your smile right now.
It's an exciting time. And then as I look, I don't know about you, but the air and the energy on a court is so much different in the playoffs than it is in the regular season, right?
Oh my God, yes.
And
everything means so much more. Every little thing. Every time you enter, sit down, you get your drink, you get back to your seat. Like everything is just so like strategic.
It's very strategic. And I don't know if you ever watched Rocky, right? I love that movie. I could watch all the Rockies 1,000 times. But I always tell Mikal, like, yo, bro, you better have the eye of the tiger when you go out there. Right?
Eye of the tiger. Yes. Oh my God.
But you can see it. You could just feel the energy. So playoff game starts this weekend on Sunday. So I'm like super pumped to just be in the house and represent. I won't be able to make all the playoff games like last time because I'm starting a new job around the same time. But I'll get to as many games as I can and know Mama be rooting from afar wherever I'm at.
I love that. And I actually saw an interesting stat the other day. And it said 5 of the NBA's 15 highest paid players this year only played about one season's worth of combined. And that was Anthony Davis, 40 games at $35.4 million. Klay Thompson, 32 games at $37.9 million. Wow. Damian Lillard, 29 games, $39.3 million. Kawhi, 0 games, $39.3 million. John Wall, 0 games, $44.3 million. And then your sons over here. Mikal Bridges has not missed a game in 4 years in the NBA. He's played in 331 out of a possible 331 games.
You better do it, Mikal. And on top of that, he hasn't missed any college games either. So you got to add that on. Yes. That let me tell you something. That boy got the work ethic of his mama.
That's the eye of the tiger right there. Wow. Man, kudos to you, Mikal. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah.
Man.
Shout out to my kid. Mama loves you. Keep doing your thing. So speaking of kids, I mean, what a perfect look at you. You got that sister brain going on.
See what I did there?
You always feed me that goodness, girl.
Tell your Buddha stop calling.
You ain't nothing but a hater. The hate is in me today, and I'm not going to receive it. Okay.
Tell Brother Muhammad we recording right now.
You know what? You showing off, you bad little girl. I'll get you later. But speaking of kids, what a perfect transition, because today's topic came from a tipper. So shout out to you. Thank you, Chris Duncan, one of our tippers who gave us the topic of co-parenting and your role as a step parent. And I'm going to add a layer onto that as well, because for me, like me entering in a new relationship, Brother Muhammad has kids as a younger child and have like split custody. So we should also talk about and dive in how it is to manage and be in a relationship with someone who has a younger kid, because their availability and things like that are different and can be challenging for folks who are empty nesters like me, when I could just be like, let's go, let's bounce. I want to do this. I want to do that, and it's like, I can't, got my kids, sorry. Right. So I think it's just a really good topic to unpack we have a lot of people who are dealing with that, where they may be in a co-parenting situation, or they have a stepchild, or
Mhm.
they have broken up or separated from a spouse, from a significant other, from someone in their life, and they now have to raise children together in separate
Correct.
households. So much goodness to unpack there, but I do believe that we could be very helpful to our tippers.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I am someone who is getting married to someone who has a child who I
Yeah.
love. And they were actually supposed to come this weekend and plans got detoured. And I'm very sad because I love me some
Oh,
Zoe.
yeah. I
Um,
know how much you love. Shout out to little Zoe.
Shout out to Zoe.
I'm sure she's so big. I mean, when I met her for the first time, she was a little button. So
Yep.
I'm sure she's like she's growing.
She's a big
now.
button now. Yeah. And so
Oh, how old is she now?
She's 10. She was
Oh,
4 when I came into her life. So
that's when I met her
yeah,
back in the Sixers days. How old was she then? Like
it
6?
4 or 6. Yeah, 4, 5, 6. One of those. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's insane. So yeah, I miss bringing her to work, to the Sixers games, her running the back halls, taking pictures with Joel Embiid and doing her whole thing. And that was the
Oh,
fun part of it. But there are some challenges
for
that come
sure.
with that as well. Especially when you're not the primary parent.
Yeah.
You do have your opinions. You do have, you're observing most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing your place, knowing when to step in, or telling your partner that you're happy to, help in certain areas, but try not to overstep your boundaries. I am not a disciplinarian when it comes to Zoe. I do not do any of the discipline. I might
Yeah.
share a few things or a few suggestions to Nafis. But ultimately, it's his job and the mother of his child. It's their job to parent their child. That's how I feel. And I always say I'm here as a supplement. Like I will become the bonus parent. I do not expect Zoe to call me mom or anything like that. I will always be Shay Shay. I love being Shay Shay anyway.
That's
Just love
cute. Shay
when she
Shay.
says that. It just makes my heart melt.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel. And I've also seen the other side of it when it's not so good. But it took a long time to get to this place that we're in. I think that they have a good relationship. They have a flow. I am not involved in their decision-making process at all. I take a step back.
Yeah.
One, because I
Sure.
don't think it's my place. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, that's a lie. Look, I agree. I especially agree in terms of being a disciplinarian. Now, the cool thing about your relationship is that she likes you, she respects you, and you guys have a great relationship.
Mhm.
So how that is going to grow and manifest is going to be very much differently as she become a young woman, as a teenager, and then a
I'm
full blown
scared.
woman. Yeah,
Yeah.
because what's going to happen is, although you're not the disciplinarian, just me knowing you for who you are, and I know how you show up in her life, is you're going to be someone that she respects and looks up to.
I hope
So,
so.
right? For
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
100%. And although you may not be the disciplinarian, you're going to be a coach and a mentor. The things that you've been doing throughout your life that's going to really serve you, be
Correct.
very purposeful now in her life, right? So, and what that looks like and how that shows up, it's going to be different. It's going to be like, Shay, I want your advice. It could be on, hairstyles,
Yeah.
both with your natural hair. It could be about, boys. It's going to have a lot of different topics. But I do think that's important in terms of that relationship, because there are times where, children or young adults may have something they just want to talk about, and maybe is different than from their parents. And I just encourage you to be mindful of that. So although you're not the disciplinarian, you very much can show up differently in terms of being someone who's an advocate in her life.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely gonna love her. I'm definitely gonna listen to her. I'm definitely going to listen to both of him and the mother of his child, whatever their recommendations are for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take all of that into account. I'm just wondering, for you going
Mhm.
into a new situation,
Mhm.
obviously it's just beginning, so it's not even there. But I'm just thinking,
It's very new and very
yeah,
fresh.
yeah, it's down the road. But like, what's your take on approaching that from an early stages, and things
Yeah,
like
I
that?
mean, so right now is very new. I met his daughter, one of his daughters, the youngest daughter. She's 16. I met her last week. He had his brother had like a wine and cheese tasting and at his house,
Oh, nice.
and I met her. She's a very nice young woman, very beautiful too, and it was great. So for me. very much like you, like it's new, but over time, I'm just someone like by the time, it gets to be, we really had the chance to spend some time together, she'll probably be on her way off to college.
Yeah.
But I just want to be someone, if it continues to grow and, our relationship blossom, I just want to be someone who, who she knows that she has someone, like you said, a bonus person in her life that can help, and I'm there for her for anything. Like my job is like I love my person, and I'm going to
Mhm.
love anything that's an offspring of my person. Like it's just
Mhm.
it's important for me. Like the love that I have for him is be very much the love that I have for his children and everyone around him. And not just that, like his family members. Everyone will be anyone who's connected to him is an extension of him, and they have my full heart just like he does.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
totally. I feel the same way. I love Nafis's family as well. And there's lots of funny, I have Zoeisms. I have a list of those in my phone.
Yeah,
When
it's
she was
cute.
little and she used to have a list, I would just she would say things like, bazombies, like a zombie,
Mhm.
but I don't know why she said, or she said garage, like in the
Mhm.
garage. Like
Mhm.
there was just all these like little things that make me laugh. There's lots of good moments. And then there were some sad moments too. Like
Yeah.
one time she told me, "You're not my mom." Oh my God. When I tell you,
That's hurtful. I've been told that before in
I
in a previous relationship. Yeah.
when I tell
That's
you
hurt.
that when she said that, I literally wanted to die. Like I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know why it hurt so bad, but
Yeah. But look, here's the foundation, right? Because anytime we talk about anything, for me, I'm an analogy queen. It's just
yeah,
who
I
I
love it.
am.
Yeah.
But everything, like, so let's look at it building a house, right? Like, so one of the first things you have to do is like build the foundation, right? So the
Mhm.
groundwork, all the things that's going to have the house be stable and stand up. It's the same thing. And so when I look at whether it be a co-parenting, a step
Right.
parent, or whatever it is, the relationship is important. And when I say the relationship, is not yet with the relationship with the child. It's a relationship that you have with the parents. Like the parents got to be on the same page in that same
Yeah.
vein. And if that is out of line, then it's going to cause friction in everyone's life, including the
Yeah.
child. So,
Correct.
first things first is those parents. So, we're not talking about us as the third party. We're talking about the true parents who are raising the child together. They need to, one, be very much respectful for each other. If there's anything going on, then, they need to put all the personal shit that they had in their lives aside and be a bigger and better person for their
Mhm.
children. So that means if it was a rough breakup, whatever it is over. We accept that it's over. That's
Mhm.
important. And then now it is how can they be very respectful of each other so they can make sure that they giving their kid the best life that they can provide, but it starts with the two of them. That's essential.
And I would say being yes, and that's the case. And so for someone who's a third party like myself, I think it was important for me not to add fuel to the fire, not
Mm,
to when he would, get frustrated with certain things or the communications that they've had, to not let my personal feelings get involved and not gas him up, and not say like, well, this, that. Well,
mhm,
my role, this is what I did was tell me more. Let me see
mm,
how I can help. Let me give you
mhm,
maybe a woman's perspective of how she might be feeling,
mhm.
because you might have heard her words, but you might not have understood where it came from as a
Sure.
woman. Like, obviously, I don't have a child of my own, but these are the things you can consider. And as someone who knows you well and knows how you handle things and execute things, maybe I can give you some perspective on maybe she's not talking about that one thing. Maybe she's talking about the steps it takes to get to that point. And
Sure.
so my job was always to give perspective and to help and to not add fuel to the fire. I always remove myself like, this is not my fight. Even if
Yeah.
she wanted to contact me, I felt like that's between you
Yeah,
and the
let them
father of
work
your
it out.
child and not me.
Yeah.
I don't have a horse in the race.
Yeah.
I'm here to support. I'm here to be the bonus and the extra.
Yeah.
And it was actually really easy for me to do that. Some people
Mhm.
would have been like, I would have been like, but, and I'm like, that doesn't help. So
Yeah.
why would I bring toxic energy into a situation that's already working itself out? Like if something's trying to work itself out, you don't add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
You be that support. But also Nafis made me feel secure in my role as his woman And he always made it about the parenting and always made it about the children. So I never really had any issues with him. Great. I just had advice on how I think he could do better so that she wouldn't be as upset or frustrated with him in dealing with different things they had to handle for their child.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I know everyone approaches that very much differently. It depends on the relationship that you have and how long you've been around. Because like for me, my dad who raised me, although it wasn't my biological dad, he was in my life who I regard him as my father. He raised me. And I was like, 5 years old or 4 when he came into my life. So he was a disciplinarian. He was, that's my father. So he was a disciplinarian. He pretty much had the say, even more so than my mom.
Oh, I love it though. But your mom gave him that power, I'm sure.
Right. So it depends, right? It's so many different factors. It's not like a one size fit all type situation. It depends on how long you've been in the child's life, what your relationship is with both parents, especially the parent who's not in the household, because that's important. But, I do love the fact that you basically say, I'm staying in my own lane, but I'm there for support. I'm there for advice. And I think that's what we sometimes, where things go wrong. And I've seen it before, especially in, I was in a relationship for someone for 10 years and he had a child and we all lived, we lived together. So, I really wasn't much of a disciplinarian. I would, let his dad handle that. But I was very much involved in everything else. Like I'm cooking for the children. I'm dropping them off for school. Like I'm doing things. And, so the most important thing for me was how do I make sure that this kid feels special? Because it's gonna be so natural with Mikkel and I. Like I was a single parent and had full responsibility of him. Right. And, we are just naturally super close. Right. So the time that we were together, the number one thing that I always had in my mind is like, how could I don't want him to feel like an outsider. I want this child to feel special. I want this child to know that I love him. I want this child to know that, he's just as special as my child. And that's the hardest part. It is very, very difficult because of course you have this special connection with your offspring and you have to work extra hard as a step parent or a co-parent. You have to.
Yeah. Well, luckily Zoe is so loving. Mm-hmm. So she's such a good girl. And they did a really good job with her. Like, and she's great. So respectful and she's so just like expressive and she shares her deepest, innermost thoughts. And it's just the cutest. Mm-hmm. So I really don't have any complaints there. And I really never had a problem developing a relationship with her at all. So even when she said, "You're not my mom," she wasn't saying it maliciously. It was more of like a actual realization of like, let me just let you know, like that I know, like, and I was like, I think that's why it hurt so much because it's like, she's like this little human who kind of knows the world. So I definitely think that like,
super sweet.
it was sad, but it was funny too at the same time.
I love that. Yeah.
And Nafis explained like, we know she's not your mother. And like, we talked about it all as a 3-unit, but it was funny.
Now I've been on the opposite side of that where an ex that I live with, and his daughter was probably 15, 16 at the time. And she's just going through a lot of different things in her life. And the lash out was against the parents. And of course it was me because we lived together and that was very tough, so.
Tough in what way? Emotionally? Did it hurt or is it
because
like, stressful?
one, she just was very disrespectful and, not just towards me, but towards her father and towards her mother. So that disrespect, it wasn't personal because it was me. I was going through things. We all go through things as a teenager. Yeah. I don't fault her for it. Times like that, you need support. But living in a house where the disrespect is coming, like I don't tolerate that, and I was not used to it because, Mikkel's older now. He's a grown ass man. He's 25 years old, and we joke and we play, but he knows like he's never disrespected me. Like I don't play that. 6'7", I will climb that tree and knock his ass right down to the ground. love you, boo, but you're going to go down. So I have not.
My mother and my brother, their relationship is similar.
I'm not used to that. Yeah. And it was very different. And I was just really, again, not trying to talk to her, but more so to her father to say, okay, like here are some things on how this needs to be handled. And, she's just crying out for support and attention. And you have to figure out a way. But we also have to check the disrespect, because it's just what you can't let kids disrespect you at all. Like you have to have structure and and expectations, because once you lose sight of that, then it becomes a very slippery slope downhill from there.
Yeah. And on the other side of that too, and I'm a huge advocate of respecting children. And some people come into a relationship and resent that child, and they are disrespectful to that child, which in turn, that begets disrespect. So if you are in a situation, you have to really, really be intentional about how you're speaking to that child.
Sure.
How you're handling that child. We don't know how fragile their situation is. We don't know what they're feeling, what they're going through, not having both their parents together. And you are filling that space and taking some of that attention away from them, because that parent is trying to manage a romantic relationship and then also a loving, relationship with their child. So I think respecting kids is huge. Listening to them, not manipulating their love, not using them for your personal agendas and telling them, hey, can you go get that remote? Hey, can you watch the kids? And their child themselves. They're
not your little servants.
They're not there for you to, exactly. And I think that it's our responsibility as adults to understand that and do the work to, like when you enter into a relationship with someone who has children, yes, you have to shift everything. So that's a decision you need to make if you can do that before you enter into that union, because it now is your responsibility to lead by example, protect that child from outside harm, talk about stressful life events, be, an ear. And like, when you do that, to your point about building the foundation, I think all of that is helpful too, because I know when my mom didn't date, I can count 2 people on my hands that she dated when I was a young kid. And one of them tried to be too friendly too early. And I was like, right? Like, nah, I don't really know you like that.
Stay in your lane.
They didn't really work, And then there was one who just kind of was just around. You need anything? I'm going to the store, And like little by little, like build that trust with me. And even to this day, I still revere them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's different ways you can do it, and you just have to be very intentional about it and understand that like it's not easy accepting a new person in your parents' life. So
I agree 100% with you. And that is, again, that goes back to where we started, was that it's so important for those 3 adults to have very respectful relationships of each other, especially you as that third party. Is you need to check your emotions at the door and know that this kid has nothing to do with your feelings against that child's parent, right? Because I think oftentimes where you see the disconnect is not like a child is a child. It's nothing personal against the child, but because of how whoever the parent is, the lack of respect that they have for the child's parent, that's when the drama starts to enter the relationship, where you're pretty much taking whatever it is out that you have on that parent onto that child. And that's just never going to be okay. And that's not fair to the child. Like the child deserves everything, all the love in the world that you can provide. And if you are not wired, and if you can't be the mature adult that you need to be to give the child the love that they deserve, then you don't need to enter that relationship. And you certainly don't need to be in a place where you're living with the child, because that needs to be rectified first. You got to first rectify the relationship with the parent before you can enter into the child's life. That's like that's a must happen, because there's no way you can move in and be a part of that child's life when you're just so angry and bitter towards the child's parent. And I know that's a lot, because people will take you there. People will push your buttons. People will disrespect you.
Correct.
But you can, you have to be the bigger person for that child. And I know that that's saying a lot, and it's easier said than done, because I have never dealt with any baby mama drama. And I won't. I refuse to. And I typically date older, because I prefer that kids are out of the way, and are moved on and old, like my child.
Empty nesting. Yeah, that they're empty nesting.
That's my preference. But again, there's situations like now where you don't always get what you prefer to have, and you have to make the best of it. But you certainly can't go into that relationship, with unresolved feelings, emotions, bitterness, anger towards the parent. Forgiveness needs to be injected immediately. And I know that's not easy to forgive people.
It's an adjustment. It is it's not huge adjustment to make room for more. But if you can find it in your heart to like just peel back the layers little by little, not go fast, go slow, and try to understand, obviously your partner in that situation, empathize with what that person has to go through now that they're taking on a new relationship and ending, and even when they're not together, they're still parenting with someone they were in a relationship with. So that's also an extra layer. And then the child having to experience that. And I'll also say, like, I've experienced a lot of split households working with athletes, and it's so hard. It's so hard because a lot of the times the circumstances, people move on and get into other relationships, but maybe haven't resolved things, or things aren't on good terms. And then I've also seen it where there are really good relationships too that you can point to. But when I've seen it bad is when one person is still has feelings for the other.
That's the problem right there.
And parenting needs to get done, but it can't get done because the child is being used as a pawn or as a hurtful thing to one parent or the other, depending on who has custody. And we can really do a lot of damage as adults to kids, and that's what happens. And I think that's why we all have to make sure when we're entering a relationship or exiting a relationship with someone that we can really figure it out. And I think a lot of people need to know their rights as parents, whether it's a man or a woman or whoever.
And your responsibilities. Right? Yeah.
That's your responsibility. Know your legal responsibilities and know your legal options to take the necessary steps, because sometimes you can't figure it out, just you and that person. Sometimes you do need a third party to mediate, sometimes even go to court, because you can't understand what to do while you're in it because you're feeling so angry. And you're feeling this way about somebody, and you just know what you want on your side, and you're never going to think about what the other person wants. And it's not like you guys are both thinking about each other. It's like, no, I need him to do this. No, I need her to do this. And it's like the child is being hurt in the process, and no one's thinking about the child, but they think they are. So
and that's the sad part. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Shay, because we cannot use children as pawns. Like that is just so unacceptable. We have to figure out, again, how can I improve the relationship with my child's parent? Because that is what's going to help us be the best parents to the child or the children. And, you talked about getting help. We talk about this all the time on our pod, where we say, don't be afraid to reach out to get assistance. And sometimes maybe going to a therapist or a counselor, someone you can talk to say, like, we're struggling. We pretty much never liked each other. I mean, to the point that it almost feels like hatred. And we need to fix this so that we can stand up and be the best parents for our child or our children. So, don't be afraid to do that. And I think once we can realize that there's something bigger than ourselves, that's what's really going to help us be able to propel and help be the best parent for our kids. And I think that's what we have to do. So you are dealing with someone who's challenging. That person hurt you. One, you got to tap into that forgiveness, which I always say, it's very hard to do. But if you are having time just co-parenting, because this is someone who is very difficult. Because look, there are some people who have very difficult exes that is not easy, not even to just co-parent with them. It's just hard to even have a conversation with someone on the phone, because they're just knuckleheads or narcissists or very disrespectful. Like, get help because you need it.
Yeah.
And don't try to be this super person, superman, superwoman, super whoever you are. Don't try to be that person. Get the help so that way you know how to appropriately communicate with them.
Yeah, and build community and ask other people who are in similar situations, get their perspective. Sometimes getting other people's perspective and what they're going through helps to subside some of that anxiety that you're feeling, because you can't get to a result that you want immediately, or you feel like you're not getting through to the other parent or vice versa. And build that community and ask questions. Hey, what did you guys do now that you're at this great place? I'd love to try and explore those options, and then try tactics, right? Like different tactics. Each time you communicate, try to just play into, our psyche and what someone needs. Like, what is that person's needs? I know you talked about the 5 needs of people in a relationship, right? And it was like, well, what do people need in a exiting, or what do people need in a breakup from that other person? Like, really try, and especially if you want to be in that child's life, there's work to be done. And so, don't give up, but like, don't try and do it your way. Get opinions of others who've been through it, because there is something about the human behavior that's very similar that you can take and kind of try to manufacture your own way through this, like these murky waters. Because it's not easy. It is not easy to co-parent. It's not easy to be a step parent or a bonus parent or a bonus whatever. It's not easy. And again, if you lead with love and selflessness, things will get better. And if they don't, then you know what to do. Either you find out your rights and you only communicate through certain means, whether that's email, whether that's only text. Like there are things you can do to kind of to create boundaries that won't, allow you to act out of character, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's lead with love, right? Like that is the most important thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Whatever situation that you're in is lead with love. And I think, you have to remember, and this is like the number one rule, the child always comes first. And that is hard sometimes.
It's
like
hard.
even for me.
But it's easy. It's hard, but it's easy, okay?
Yeah. It's definitely hard, especially, I'm going to be honest. Like I like to come first. I want to be your focus. I want to be your focus and your priority.
See, and I don't mind coming second.
Yeah. But I know when I have to, and I know when I need to take a step back and understand what my role is in my position. So but I'm just being honest, like I'm a super competitive person. Everyone knows that about me.
And I need to be more competitive.
And I like to be the queen. You know what I'm saying? And
sometimes Zoe's a queen. Zoe's a queen in my world.
But sometimes you got to be able to take the crown off and step back, and that's what you have to do in certain situations, and be flexible. Because like for me, like entering in a situation where someone has a kid, it's like their priority is going to shift. Their availability is not going to be the same as mine, because I'm an empty nester and I have one child who's grown. So I can just pick up and go whenever I want.
Exactly.
And like, oh, let's go do this. Let's go do that. But, now that I'm dealing with someone who has a child who's younger, the schedule is different. There is an actual schedule of availability.
And things change.
Yeah.
And you don't have time.
Yeah. And I just have to like, oh, okay. I have to accept that, sit back and kind of work around the schedule in order to make it work. So you have to be able to have that level of flexibility. Yeah.
But there's also boundaries. Don't let that person use that excuse every time either. I had to set those 100%. Boundaries too. Like, okay, all right, I got you. All right, you're gonna cancel today. That's cool. But let's work on.
Yeah.
It can't be all the time.
Yeah, no. Look, we got a 16-year-old. It's not like a lot of cancels that something happened. But it's mainly around like, I don't have the availability. Like, no, I can't go with you to go do this on this date because my daughter's here. And it's like, okay.
And me and Nafis have that too.
And being respectful of that. Like
we have to turn down, invites to stuff. We're like, oh, sorry, we got Zoe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly. And then and the difference is like I'm on the outside because our relationship is just so new. So it's not like us, it's like them and me. So it's more so like understanding that and conceptualizing that, because that is hard. Like it's different for you because you guys are all doing things together.
Yeah.
And now because it's so new, like we're working on our relationship and our bond before we really start making this a whole type family situation.
Absolutely.
And until that happens, you have to. And I'm excited. Yeah, me too. But you have to kind of. You're so silly. I can't even with you. But you have to like know your role and again understand that the child is always going to come first, and you have to respect that because look, so is mine. Like he's a grown man, and
okay,
and he says today, like I don't care what we have going on, Mom, I need you. I want the next thing. Done. Smoking to Phoenix. It's a wrap.
Deuces.
So yeah. So listen, I understand. I respect it because I'm a parent, and my kid is a priority in my life. So I totally understand.
And parenting, the beautiful part about parenting is that it never stops.
Never.
No matter how old your child is, it's always going to be your child because every time I'm around my mom, it's mommy. It's I don't care how old I get. That is my mom. And my brother and my mom's relationship is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. He will always need her counsel. He will always need her advice. And it's just like he was a young Malcolm. And
that's awesome.
So I totally know what you mean. If she needed to go to Turkey tomorrow, she'd be on the next thing smoking.
She'd be like, what? What you need? What you need from me?
Exactly.
Yeah. So look, I think the other thing too is when we think about all the different things is you talked about being flexible and having the ability to adjust. You have to do that. Like there's going to be times where you will need to adjust whatever, whether it be a plan,
talk about it,
date, a situation, whatever it is, like you have to be able to adjust. And adjusting sometimes is hard, especially when you got your heart set on something. But you have to be willing to make things work. It's funny because
I got a story too.
Right? Because right? So I'm like, okay. I saw today is Friday. Brother Muhammad was here Wednesday. And I just know I got all this stuff going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to see him before I go. I'm going to Phoenix, but his daughter's there now. So I leave tomorrow morning to go to Phoenix. And then when I get back, his daughter is there. So I was like, oh shoot. So when am I going to see him? I'm like, okay, I got to wait all the way to next Saturday.
You do.
I'm like, okay, but this is like, but again, goes back to my point that you have to be willing to adjust and understand that there takes a level of flexibility and understanding when someone has a child. So
yes. Oh my God. So last story. And I don't know why I'm telling this, but it just popped up in my memory. And it's actually funny.
Tell.
So one time we thought, Nafis and I thought we were taking Zoe Halloween trick-or-treating on Halloween. So we get dressed up in these superhero costumes. I mean, the whole nine. I got like my bandana over my eyes. He's got his fake muscles on. And we're so excited. We're like waiting. So we're like waiting until she comes. She changes her mind. She calls and she says, like, Daddy, like, I want to go with my cousins. And we had to act.
Adjust.
So we literally, we had to act like it was okay. But when I tell you, we were so sad because we wanted to show off our costumes. So we just drank at the house in our superhero outfits all
night. Oh, that's too cute.
But it was so cute because we were just like,
is there a picture? Is there a recording of that superhero
outfit? Yeah, there actually is. I have a video, or I have a picture. But we were just over there like, cheers. We were so sad.
I think I'm going to need to see that because that is everything.
Yeah, it was funny, but it was also like she was like so excited. We were like, okay, have fun. We really wanted to be like, no.
Yeah. It's
but
funny.
Adjusting is part of the game.
It's a necessity. It's like
spend all that money on those costumes.
Well, there's always Halloween another year.
Yeah.
Another thing too is you said it, which is important, is like, especially for people who are newly dating, like don't let people use their children as an excuse, because people do that to do whatever it is that they desire to do. Like there just needs to be some clear-cut boundaries, and like anything else in life, there needs to be really good communication, because you like you said, it can't be just like, oh, my child. Like if something is important to you, and look, we I think we talked about this before too. Things that are
Go ahead, preacher. You going somewhere?
Things that are important to you, you make time for in your life. And that's just how it is. Like I am I'm busy as hell. I'm a senior executive. I have a lot going on. and
Same.
my time is very much limited, right?
Right.
But the things that we care about, we make time about. So I know that I'm entering in a new relationship. I gotta make time for it. And it's the same expectation. So even if you as a parent, if you're ready, like there's times where you may need to be resolving something, or your child may be going through something, or you may be going through something, and you don't have time for dating because that's your priority. And you don't have the opportunity to really invite someone else in that space at that juncture. However, once you have decided that you are ready to let someone else on in your space, you have to make time for that person.
You do.
Although you do have a child, like you have to figure out something to factor them into your plan. So, in time, as you spend more time with each other, you get to know, and the relationship is at a certain place where now that person can be around your child. But until that happens, you have to make sure that you're being flexible for you and really understanding that person, that new love interest, that person that you are courting, that person needs your time too. That's just super important. If you want it to go anywhere.
Go ahead, T. I don't got nothing else to add. That's beautiful. So.
Look, so we wanted to make sure that on our pod that we are talking about things that are important to you. So I think what we should do is just like put something out on the gram with a question, so that we'll, in terms of what topics that you want to hear and what's important to you, what's near and dear to your heart. So that way you can respond, and that way we'll have something that we can see, opposed to you having to reach out to us individually or reaching out to us on whatever social is your preferred, whether it be the Instagram or Twitter. I think we should just put something out there so that you guys can respond and let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah, and I challenge some of our tippers to favorite our videos, share them with people using the little airplane option, and tag a few people. Help us out on Instagram and with awareness if you really like what we're doing here. And we'll really appreciate that. And we'll give you some love on the IG. So
sharing is caring. Make sure to look, we thank you for continuing to follow Tipping the Scales wherever you get your podcast, but tell a friend, phone a friend, share it with someone else, someone that we want to continue to grow our our tipping family. So if you love it and you like what you're hearing, share it. Tell someone else about it so that we can continue to expand our reach and be able to continue down that path of healing and growing together in one community.
Yep. Love you guys.
Love you. Have a great day. See ya.